I knew he was cheating on me, even before he realized it himself. It's a strange thing, to know something before it's spoken, like standing on a bridge, watching the river below, knowing you're going to fall, not because someone pushed you, but because you've decided to step off 1 inch at a time. And no one even notices. My name is Sarah. I'm 35 years old and I live in Austin, Texas. I work as a paralegal at a mid-sized law firm downtown. My life is predictable, stable, some might even say enviable. I have a nice house in South Austin, a golden retriever named Marley, a garden I forget to water, and a husband, Jason, who I've been with since college. We met at UT Austin. I was studying political science. He was getting a degree in finance. He was charming back then, all confidence and ambition, the kind of guy who wore cologne to morning classes and somehow got away with it. We married at 26, bought a house at 28, and by 30, we were settled into the routine of two people who knew each other's coffee orders better than their dreams. People thought we had it all, but people only see what you let them see. Started small, so small I almost missed it. Jason began coming home late. Not every night, just once or twice a week. Work was crazy. Clients were demanding. Deadlines were piling up. His phone was always buzzing, always flipped face down on the table. And when I asked how his day was, he'd say, same old, and change the subject. I tried not to overthink it. We were busy. People get tired. I told myself not to become that kind of wife, the one who snoops, who accuses, who drives her husband away with paranoia. I trusted him. We'd been through too much not to. But trust is funny. It doesn't die loudly. It fades like the color from an old photograph. One Thursday night, I made his favorite lemon garlic chicken and mashed potatoes. I lit a candle. I even put on that deep green sweater he always said brought out my eyes. He was 2 hours late. When he finally walked in, he looked surprised and maybe even guilty. Oh hey, what's all this? Dinner, I said, trying to sound cheerful. He kissed me on the cheek. It was quick like a reflex. I grabbed something with the guys from work, he said, loosening his tie. Didn't think you'd cook tonight. But it's Thursday. He blinked, then smiled like he just remembered. Oh right. Sorry. I should have texted. I nodded and sat down to eat alone. Marley curled up under the table, sensing something I couldn't yet admit. That night I lay in bed listening to Jason breathe, my eyes wide open, my heart sinking. I told myself it was nothing, but the lie didn't comfort me like it used to. The next few weeks blurred together. He became more distant, more distracted. He started going to the gym, a place he hadn't set foot in since 2020. He changed his cologne. He started shaving every day again. When I reached for him in bed, he turned away, murmuring, "I'm tired." One morning I caught him smiling at his phone. Not just a polite smile, but the kind of smile you make when someone says something flirtatious and unexpected. He quickly put the phone down when I walked in. "Who was that?" I asked casually. "Just Mark. Something dumb from the office group chat." I nodded, but Mark never made Jason smile like that. The worst part? I wanted to believe him. I wanted so badly to hold on to the illusion that nothing was wrong, that we were just going through a rough patch. That all couples did. I tried harder. I booked us a weekend getaway in Fredericksburg. He canceled last minute. Q3 numbers, babe. I can't bail now. I left the reservation untouched, staring at the confirmation email like it might morph into a love letter if I waited long enough. Even Marley seemed to know something was off. He started sleeping next to my side of the bed, not Jason's. Then came the night I really started to break. Jason had left his jacket on the kitchen chair. It was late. He was in the shower. I went to hang it up, something I'd done 100 times before. The pocket felt heavy. I reached inside and pulled out a folded receipt. 2 glasses of wine. 1 appetizer. A dessert. Table for 2 printed in faint ink. The date? Last Wednesday. The night he said he was stuck in a meeting. The restaurant? Not somewhere we ever went together. Somewhere trendy. Romantic. I stared at the paper for a long time. My hands didn't tremble. My heart didn't race. It was almost peaceful. Like the moment right before a storm, when the sky holds its breath. I put the receipt back. I didn't confront him. Not that night. I wasn't ready. I needed more than a piece of paper. I needed truth. Not just his. Mine. A few days later, I started going through our photos. Old ones. Vacations. Birthdays. Holidays. I was looking for something, some clue of when we started drifting apart. I found a photo from our 3rd anniversary. We were laughing. I was leaning into him. He was holding my waist. And then I looked at a photo from just 3 months ago, my birthday. We were standing side by side, smiling for the camera like co-workers posing for a newsletter. Our bodies weren't touching. Our eyes weren't sparkling. We looked like strangers in a shared frame. That's when I realized, maybe he hadn't left me yet. But he was already gone. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. I watched him sleep. His face was peaceful, unaware. I thought about how many lies can live inside a single body. How someone can hurt you without bruising your skin. And yet, even then, I didn't hate him. I hated the silence between us. I hated the fact that I had stopped asking questions I didn't want answers to. I hated that I still loved him and that the version of him I loved might have been gone for a long time. I wasn't sure what to do next. I wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet. But I wasn't going to keep pretending. So I did what any modern woman with a broken heart and decent Wi-Fi does. I opened Google. And I typed, "How to know if your husband is cheating." I didn't expect Google to hand me the truth on a silver platter, but I needed somewhere to start. As I scrolled through articles titled, 10 Signs Your Spouse is Cheating, and How to Catch a Liar, something inside me shifted. The girl who once looked away from the warning signs? She was gone. I wasn't just watching the fire anymore, I was walking toward it. That night, I sat on the living room couch, Marley curled up beside me, my laptop glowing in the dark. Jason had gone to a client dinner. He didn't offer many details, just kissed my forehead on the way out like he was clocking out of something, not someone. I made a list, yes, an actual list. Not because I didn't know the signs, but because writing them down made them real. Coming home late. Guarding his phone. Sudden gym obsession. Distant in bed. Changes in grooming. Lying about small things. The receipt. It read like a checklist of heartbreak. My fingers hovered over his laptop on the kitchen counter. I'd never gone through his stuff before. We used to laugh at couples who did that kind of thing. We said we were better than that because we had trust. But trust isn't real when it's one-sided. The password hadn't changed. Marley 2015, the year we adopted him. Something about that made me ache. His inbox was ordinary at first: spreadsheets, company memos, the occasional forwarded joke from Mark. I was about to close it when I noticed a folder labeled Events. That was new. Inside were receipts, confirmations, calendar reminders. I scanned through them until I found one that stopped me cold. Table for 2, March 10th, reservation confirmed, 7 p.m., Lavi and Rose Bistro. That was 2 nights ago. The night he said he stayed late to help a junior associate prep for a big meeting. Lavi and Rose wasn't just a restaurant. It was our place. He took me there for our 1st anniversary. He told me he loved me for the first time on that patio, under those fairy lights. Now he was taking someone else there. I closed the laptop and sat there in the quiet hum of the house that used to feel safe. And I cried. Not the messy, sobbing kind. The still, silent kind, the kind where tears slip down your face like they're afraid to disturb the silence. The next morning, I couldn't look at him. He was making coffee, humming some song under his breath. He looked happy. That broke me more than any evidence ever could. "Morning, babe," he said, smiling. "Morning," I replied, my voice barely audible. He leaned in to kiss me, but I stepped back to grab a plate from the cupboard. My hand shook just enough that the ceramic clinked against the counter. He didn't seem to notice. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Fine. Just tired." He nodded, took his coffee, and left for work. He didn't even ask why I wasn't drinking mine. That day at work, I could barely focus. I kept replaying moments from the last year, conversations we had, weekends he'd gone, golfing, birthdays I spent waiting alone because he was on a deadline. Had he started this because of me? Was I too quiet? Too distracted with work? Not exciting enough? That evening, I sat in my car outside his office building, parked across the street like I was in a bad movie. I felt ridiculous. But I needed to see it for myself. At 6:17 p.m., he walked out. He wasn't alone. She was tall, brunette, early 30s maybe, wearing a beige trench coat and heels that clicked confidently on the pavement. She laughed at something he said. He touched her elbow gently, intimately, as they crossed the street. They walked into a little Italian restaurant on the corner. Not fancy but cozy. Romantic. Candlelit windows. 2 glasses of wine already waiting on their table like it wasn't their first time. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly I thought I might break it. He didn't even look back. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I'd seen enough. When I got home, I fed Marley, changed into pajamas, and stared at the TV without really watching it. A sitcom was playing, canned laughter filled the room. The irony wasn't lost on me. At 10:12 p.m., Jason walked in. "Hey," he said, as if nothing had happened. "Sorry I'm late. Mark had a few too many and started talking about quitting his job, so I had to babysit him." He said it so casually. Like lying came easier than breathing. "Oh," I said, not looking up. "Sounds exhausting." He poured himself a glass of water, kissed the top of my head, and headed upstairs to shower. I sat there, heart pounding, a storm behind my eyes. So this is what betrayal feels like. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Like the creak of a door closing. Like the sound of someone loving someone else and not telling you. The next few days passed like a fever dream. I went to work. I smiled when I needed to. I responded to emails. I laughed when something was supposed to be funny. But inside, I was unraveling. I started keeping notes. Times. Places. Excuses. I didn't know what I was going to do with them yet. I just knew I needed them. Proof. Not just for me. For the woman I used to be. The one who believed in forever. One night, he left his phone on the counter while he showered. He never used to do that. I picked it up, feeling like a thief in my own life. There it was. A contact saved as Emily W. A text from just an hour ago. "Still thinking about your hand on my knee under the table. Your trouble, Mr. H." A heart emoji. And his reply. "You bring it out of me," winking face. That was it. No more guessing. No more doubt. Just truth, cold, undeniable, and cruel. I set the phone back where I found it, walked into the backyard, and sat on the porch steps with Marley. He rested his head on my lap like he always did when I needed comfort. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "I don't know what to do." But the truth was, I did. I just hadn't decided if I was ready to do it. The next morning, I woke up before Jason. I just lay there in bed, watching him sleep, peaceful, unaware, the corner of his mouth twitching like he was dreaming of something pleasant. Maybe her. Maybe them. I stared at the ceiling, fingers laced tightly over my stomach. I'd never felt so alone next to someone in my life. And still, part of me hesitated. I wasn't sure if I wanted to scream or cry, or just walk away without a word. But I knew one thing, I couldn't keep pretending. That evening I made dinner. Not takeout. Not leftovers. A real dinner. Grilled salmon, roasted asparagus, garlic mashed potatoes, Jason's favorite. I opened a bottle of Pinot Noir and lit the candles in the dining room, the ones we hadn't touched in years. When he walked in around 7:30 p.m., his eyes widened. "Well, this is unexpected." I smiled gently. "Thought we could have a nice dinner. Just us." He kissed my cheek, awkwardly, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to. "Looks amazing." We sat down. The first 10 minutes were filled with small talk, work, Marley's latest vet visit, the new neighbors across the street. Then I leaned back, wine glass in hand, and asked softly, "So, how's Emily?" He froze. His fork paused midair. His face flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. I saw it. That split-second panic, the mental scramble for a response. "Emily?" he echoed. "Who's that?" I stared him dead in the eye. "The one who likes your hand on her knee under restaurant tables." Silence. The kind that swallows every sound in the room. He dropped his fork. "You went through my phone?" "No," I said. "You left it out." And trust me, I didn't go looking. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. He leaned back in his chair, hands running over his face. "It's not what you think." "Please," I cut in. "Don't insult me with that line." He didn't speak for a moment. Then quietly, "I didn't mean for it to happen." I laughed, sharp, bitter. "God, that's the line, isn't it? I didn't mean for it to happen. Like cheating's a pothole you accidentally trip into. She was just someone I talked to at work. It started innocent. I swear." "How long?" He hesitated. "How long, Jason?" 5 months. The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. 5 months. I repeated, each word like a stone on my chest. "While I was making dinner, doing laundry, planning our anniversary trip, you were building a second life?" She made me feel seen, he said, eyes downcast. We'd talk about things, books, music. I didn't feel like I was just a checklist to her. A checklist. My voice rose before I could stop it. So that's what I am now? A chore? A job? No, I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it, Jason? Because from where I'm standing, I gave you everything. And when it got quiet, when real life got hard and ordinary, instead of talking to me, you ran to someone new and shiny. He rubbed his temples. You've been distant too. You've been cold. No. I've been exhausted. From trying to keep this marriage alive while you were out falling in love over lunch breaks. He looked up at me then, eyes wet. I'm sorry. Are you sorry you did it? Or just sorry you got caught? He didn't answer. That was all I needed. I stood, walked to the living room, and grabbed a small manila envelope I tucked behind a photo frame earlier. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, I said, handing it to him. But I think it's time. He opened it slowly. Inside, printed screenshots of the texts, copies of the dinner reservations, and the receipts from client dinners. His face paled. Jesus. I started collecting them when I felt myself going crazy. I needed to know I wasn't imagining it. He set the papers down carefully. So what now? I folded my arms across my chest. That's up to you. He looked at me confused. What does that mean? I mean, I'm not making this easy for you. I'm not begging you to stay, and I'm not giving you the satisfaction of an angry breakup scene. You get to sit with the fact that you broke something real for something temporary. He shook his head. She doesn't even matter. Then why risk everything for her? His mouth opened, then closed. No answer. Exactly. Later that night, I slept in the guest room. He didn't try to follow me. He didn't knock. The next morning, he was gone before I woke up. No note. No apology. No promises. Just gone. I stood in the kitchen, holding my coffee mug with both hands like it could anchor me to something solid. Marley rested his head on my foot, warm and steady. I looked around at our house, the one we picked out together, decorated together. It suddenly felt like a museum, full of memories that didn't belong to me anymore. I walked over to the drawer by the fridge and pulled out a small spiral notebook. I flipped to a clean page and wrote in bold letters, "What do I want now?" And then, without thinking, I wrote, to stop feeling ashamed, to stop blaming myself for his choices, to breathe without checking his schedule, to find out who I am without us, to remember what it feels like to be loved, really loved. I sat back. For the first time in months, I felt something like power, something like me. Over the next few days, I started making calls. Lawyer, therapist, my sister in Denver, who I hadn't talked to in months because Jason thought she was too opinionated. I told her everything. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just said, "Finally." We talked for hours. We laughed. We cried. It was like finding my voice again, and realizing it had been quiet for way too long. I canceled the anniversary trip, took the refund and booked a solo weekend at a cabin in Colorado. No Wi-Fi, just me, the mountains, and a stack of books. Jason texted a few times. One-word messages. "Sorry. Can we talk? I miss you." I didn't reply. Let him sit with it. Let him feel the silence he created. On the last night before my trip, I found an old photo album in the back of our closet. Inside were pictures from the early years. Us laughing at the beach covered in sand. The way he used to look at me. The way I used to smile without hesitation. I closed the album and whispered to myself, she's still in there. And I was going to find her again. With or without him. The cabin sat in the middle of nowhere, just the way I needed it. Pine trees surrounded the wooden structure, their branches swaying in the wind like they were whispering secrets to each other. The air smelled like earth and rain and wood smoke. I hadn't breathed that deeply in years. There was no cell service, no social media, no distractions. Just me and silence. Except it wasn't silence. It was peace. I spent the first day hiking the trail behind the cabin, boots crunching over gravel, the wind tugging gently at my coat. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I felt alive. Later, I curled up by the fireplace with a blanket, an old novel, and a cup of tea. I read until the pages blurred. I cried without knowing exactly why. And then I laughed because it felt good to feel anything again. No pretending. No performance. Just raw, honest me. The second night, I wrote him a letter. Not because I planned to send it, but because I needed to get the words out of me. Jason, I don't know what hurts more, the betrayal or the fact that you let me go so easily. I think I kept waiting for you to fight for me. To show up, pounding on the door, begging, crying, saying you made the worst mistake of your life. But you didn't. And I finally realized that silence was its own answer. You may not have loved her more than me, but you loved yourself more than us. And that's something I can't fix. I'm not writing this to hurt you. I'm writing it to free myself. Because from now on I choose me. I folded the letter, tucked it into the back of my journal, and let it go. When I got back to Chicago, the apartment felt different. Smaller. Like it was shrinking around me. I gave Jason 30 days to move out. He asked me once, can't we just talk? Start over. And I said calmly, no. I'm starting over. Just not with you. He looked at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. Good. Because I didn't recognize the woman who let him cheat and stay. I wasn't her anymore. I changed my job schedule. Took on a creative project I'd been putting off for years, a community art initiative in Hyde Park. Started volunteering on weekends. I reconnected with old friends. Made new ones. Said yes to coffee dates, paint and sip nights, spontaneous road trips. It didn't all feel good right away. Some days were lonely. Some nights I missed him, or at least the comfort of routine. But those moments passed. And each time they did, I stood a little taller. One night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, and I realized I liked the woman looking back at me. She had been broken, but she had rebuilt herself. Then came the surprise. It was a Saturday morning. I was browsing a bookstore when someone tapped my shoulder. "Excuse me," a man said. "I think you just bought the book I came in for." I turned around and there he was. Tall. Slightly messy brown hair. Wore glasses like he wasn't trying to impress anyone. Warm smile. I looked down at the book in my hands. "This one?" "Yeah. I've been hunting it for weeks." I held it out. "Take it." He shook his head. "No way. You got to it first. But maybe you'll let me borrow it when you're done." I raised an eyebrow. That a clever way to ask for my number? He grinned. "Maybe?" His name was Adam. A high school English teacher. Divorced. Wrote poetry on the side but never told anyone because it sounds cheesy when I say it out loud. We got coffee that day. Then dinner the next weekend. He wasn't a whirlwind romance. He didn't sweep me off my feet. He just made me feel safe. Seen. Real. And for the first time in a long time. I liked where things were going. One afternoon, a few months later, I ran into Jason. It was at a mutual friend's engagement party. I hadn't known he'd be there, and at first, my stomach dropped. But when I saw him, I felt nothing. He looked older. Tired. He walked over, hands in his pockets, eyes searching. "Hey," he said. "Hey. You look really good." "Thanks. I feel good." He nodded. "I'm glad." "I really am." We stood there for a second. Not awkward. Just like two people who had shared something real once but had outgrown it. "I'm sorry, he said quietly. "Still am." "I know," I said. "But I'm not." He blinked. "You're not." "No," I repeated. "Because if you hadn't broken me, I wouldn't have built this version of myself." And then I smiled. Genuinely. "Take care, Jason." And I walked away. Without looking back. A few weeks later, Adam and I were sitting on the lakefront, watching the sunset over Lake Michigan. The sky was painted in purples and golds. The wind tugged at my scarf. He took my hand, thumb brushing over my knuckles. "You ever think about the past?" he asked. I thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, but it doesn't own me anymore." He squeezed my hand. "Good." We sat in silence for a while. Then I turned to him. "You know what the hardest part was?" "What?" "Letting go of the version of myself that believed love meant holding on no matter what. But sometimes love means letting go. And learning how to stand without needing someone to catch you." He kissed the side of my head. "You caught yourself," he said. "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So here I am. Not perfect. Not healed overnight. But whole. And if you're listening to this, maybe you've been there too. Maybe you're still there. Let me tell you something. You are not crazy for noticing the red flags. You are not weak for walking away. You are not broken because someone else couldn't see your worth. You are braver than you think. You are stronger than you feel. And one day you'll look in the mirror and realize the person who saved you was you all along.